showtime.
This is the defendant lobby, alright. But there's no defendant. Been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Oh, Edgeworth! Knowing you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777777 ID number is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. I'm not the only one who figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt on this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call him for a ruling on the defendant. 5 minutes after the trial starts, Lana will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. It's the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth his opening statement. But before that, the police chief has her proposal to make. Chief Gant. Morning, folks! How's everyone doing? Hey, Urgy, been back up to the pool yet? No, I've been drawing enough as it is in my work. That's a good one. Don't think I can't stop that? If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is it in this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Haven't heard what she intends to say. I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should have saved everyone a lot of time and trouble. What's this all about, defendant? I just had to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well done. What's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana!
Objection!
You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. But the prosecution may lack direct evidence against me.
but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial. Even Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening! It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant...
Objection!
One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. Well, why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I can care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh? To whom? As the first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. You'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now the witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister and I want her to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Darka of the Joe Dark Killings. This is correct. Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember the trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. Sure came in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took my hostage. Niall Marshall rescued me. But I'll never forget where I saw that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. Hate to do this to you, Emma. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. I'm gonna ask her about this one.
Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on dark. Just then, the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just in about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out.
Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash had left an unforgettable image in my scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman.
The victim. Let's hear a little more about it. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw?
Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. Picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough?
I need to ask her about this picture, because I recall seeing this from the last part of the investigation. The picture the witness drew. I believe it has a very important meaning.
But the list of evidence I was given to 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we add this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost.
Yeah, about that.
This is the right one, right? Yep, this is it.
About that.
Objection! Objection!
Objection!
Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture.
And yet you still insist on denying its existence?
Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture.
That may be well. It may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Behold! This is the evidence source for the SO9 incident.
Please turn it over, Your Honor.
Turn it over? Turn it. Ah! What's this?
Yes, what is that?
Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew!
Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list?
Me?
Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list that you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case had ever reached you.
What? What? Order! Order! Who would have thought the picture that would have been drawn on the back of the list?
That was handed to Detective Goodman in the questioning room? Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means...
Your Honor! Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawings in the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list.
Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong?
Do you even have to ask?
Oh boy. Sorry, Your Honor. There is something drawn on the back of my list. This is that thing! kidding me? That's that thing. The thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Apparently the head of the criminal affairs used this for his blueprints. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Uh-huh. Very well. Witness, will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Oh boy.
Huh? Yes, sir, Your Honor.
What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she saw the picture.
This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright I could see him wear shadows. After that, I must have fainted. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw that instant.
Do you think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind?
Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw.
Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about the murder prosecutor Niall Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Okay, that's fine.
I want to ask her about this one.
So at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor.
You were knocked to the floor?
Dark had a tight grip on me. When Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed.
Poor Emma. I'm so glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed?
Okay, yep, that's fine. That's exactly what I saw in that instant.
I'm gonna ask her about this.
Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course! This is the exact scene! It wasn't influenced in any way you talked to it with your detectives. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? Oh no, of course not!
Better watch out or he might find some way to cut my salary.
I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture? Huh?
Oh, well... That's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here.
Wait a minute.
I want to check something, because something doesn't seem right here. Because this is Niall from when he died. Stabbed in the back! The back! Objection!
Objection!
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction.
What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday!
Mr. Wright, perhaps it wouldn't be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us.
What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? It was the tip of the weapon right here. Right there. The contradiction, of course, lies here, because there's no blade showing. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
In fact, you don't even have to look closely to see that.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? The tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was a conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer.
I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma.
Objection!
Huh? Where could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Ah! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it could possibly wind up there. That's right. But what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain the inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence?
You're treading on thin ice, Wright.
All I'm saying is that this broken knife might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility.
No! Ah! Order!
Are you certain the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again to go over the events that took place with the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecution Award at the ceremony, Niall Marshall questioned Joe Dark along the Damon-Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in the story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding a broken knife.
If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been his actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances of there being two broken knives?
Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's.
Could there have been one?
Wait a minute. Hold on a moment.
I think I might be onto something. There was another knife that was present somewhere. If the witnesses isn't adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be examined away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife.
I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife.
If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder.
There's only one way. Take a look at this.
Here's the real murder weapon.
More specifically, that's something that's inside this photo.
That!
The one knife that's right in front of Lana. That has to be it.
Take that!
Take that!
The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony.
Aha!
What is it, Mr. Wedgeworth?
It's the broken murder weapon!
Notice the award prosecutor Marshall is holding?
Bingo! That too.
That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the picture was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood hit this award. That makes a lot of sense.
Order!
I honestly thought it was the blade that was in front of Lana, but not the case. Niall Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and a broken knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be! Oh? And why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the king of prosecutors' knife, reward knife, was a murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Niall Marshall. Oh. Oh! But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait! I remember now! I remember everything! Witness? Mr. Edgeworth!
What is it?
Could you show me your evidence list again, please?
This list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back?
I knew it! This picture! I'm the one who drew it!
What? You drew that?
That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. At the time I've been trying to find hard to forget. I must have locked this apart away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye?
Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger?
This should be interesting. I have a bad feeling about this one. I mean, we've already been going like all over the place as it is. What could possibly be as ridiculous as this?
When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
This is certainly most unusual. Objection! Try impossible! The head detective of criminal affairs didn't even design him until this year!
That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
You're slow. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. What the heck now?
Stop, please! Don't pursue this any further!
Lana! What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I'm already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that?
Chief Prosecutor Skye. You've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter.
When we heard about that, the blue badger never existed back then.
You! This can't be a coincidence. There's no way you could have known about that. Are you sure about this?
Of course. See, I even drew a picture of him here.
But the head detective of criminal affairs thought of this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. It's all quite verifiable.
That sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember.
Oh, brother, just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw a shadow.
Wait a minute. I want to double check something.
reason why you thought about that at first was because you saw the face. Objection! The mysterious blue badger was in fact this.
But that's... what exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
Gotta show them. The correct angle to show at this form.
Ah! Crap! Does this mean that I gotta do this the hard way?
Alright. That's probably the best I can do it. Take that! Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar resemblance to the blue badger. Did I seriously get that on my first try? I guess it was close enough for it to show it. No! It can't be! Boom! And that is how this guy rolls! Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witness on the day of the crime was actually this. Objection! Although we all enjoy Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then. Please tell us what's different than now that we know the witness of this jar. Is it more the murder weapon? The murderer? It's more or less the location of where it was at. Because when we saw in that picture, it wasn't close to a window, but instead it was close by elsewhere. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. Not only that, but she saw it at a very specific angle. Knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal the actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body? From Demon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you mean what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. And the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to been the impact of man when he was knocked into the wall? Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention into the picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, that would have been... what would have been hit? The suit of armor! Holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword! Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor and was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Niall Marshall, winning the prosecutor's award. No! Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking! Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room.
Another possibility?
Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this.
Mr. Wright? What's the matter?
If events took place as the defendants theorized, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming that man Emma Sky knocked away was actually prosecutor Niall Marshall, boo! Okay. I had my fun. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No!
I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved it so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented.
What? What are you saying?
I'm sorry, Miss Guy, but given the circumstances...
Joe's our murder prosecutor Marshall! How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her?
Imagine that coming from you.
If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have to prove it. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Niall Marshall?
Evidence?
I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes. It certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If you don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. You certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning.
Touché, Miss Guy.
Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility?
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message.
For better or for worse,
Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left her behind the name of the person who took his life. Somehow. That's impossible!
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
I gotta think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim had left behind. There's blood on the jar! It's in the evidence! This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright! Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister's a murderer?
Do not be mistaken, Miss Guy.
Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that can convey a message to the deceased. I hate to do this to you, but I have to because there's blood on this. Take that! Take that! This is the message left by the deceased.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name?
If that thing could, I'm sure it would.
Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface on this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar.
It looked like someone wiped the blood away.
Yes, but notice, for some reason the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there is a line here drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is these dots were once lines? Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message.
On that someone apparently wiped away, but blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions.
Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No!
Mr. Wright,
What kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe this bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. Gotta connect these dots and making letters. There's only one thing the victim could have written given the circumstances. The murderer's name. I'll have you know, this is painful. Like, this is, like, really painful. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove his client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma.
so this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it. But in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye.
See, Worthy? Can't say I didn't warn you.
She can't.
Do you understand the implication of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Jerk was sentenced to death. He's convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, and were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
But Joe Jarg really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable.
I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evident forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, the fact cannot be denied. What's going on in the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order! 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 The crowd was pounding fell on the deaf fears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where the trial is headed, no one knows. This is a disaster. All I can really say is that this had to have been an accident on Emma. She was not in the right state of mind. She was panicking. She couldn't have done this on purpose. In fact, if anything, it was all just an accident. And yes, I know a murder is a murder, but you can't exactly blame her for all this. Maybe it could have been done through self-defense. She was not in the state of mind. Just, oh my god. I guess we're gonna have to find out more later on. And who knows how long this next trial is gonna go. So, next time, we head for the next part of the trial to see how long this one's gonna take. See you guys then.